I'm MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 57 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 6 of City Hunter, titled, Ryo's a Nude Model, the Beautiful Artist Who Stole a Masterpiece.
Fair warning, this episode has some not great moments in it.
Yeah, so I know at the end of last week's episode, I tried to warn about what I thought I remembered about the episode. Turns out I was completely wrong. It's something else that's terrible, specifically having to do with Ryo's behavior.
I mean, when does it not have to do with Ryo's behavior?
Okay, well, this is different from him being a pervert. We're just going to tell you guys up front, there's a little bit of turf behavior out of Ryo this week.
You know, you say turf because I said turf before the show started, and I'm not exactly sure that Ryo is in any way any sort of a feminist, so he might just be just the normal kind of transphobe.
At minimum, he's an asshole.
Yeah, asshole for sure.
Yeah, so we can agree on that.
Yes.
We're in agreement over that.
Yes.
So we're giving you guys fair warning ahead of time here, and thankfully there's some good in there to discuss because of the way the episode is played out.
Yeah, I guess they kind of cancel each other out.
Which is better than just the one side being presented and being left as is. That would be worse, so thankfully it's not that. But before we get into that, so last week we talked about how we ended the show, and then like an hour later we got news about the next City Hunter animated movie.
Yeah, which is coming out this upcoming year, 2023. They originally said it was going to be this year, 2022. They were wrong. They lied. But that's fine. Now they've got updates. Now they have the same old trailer, but with the date 2023 plastered on it instead.
Good job, you guys.
Thanks,
you bought
Aniplex.
yourself another 12 months. But on top of that, just 3 days ago, nobody saw this coming, right? We thought, okay, animated movie, that's all we're getting, right? Because we take what we can get. You know, most City Hunter stuff has come and gone.
I guess we were wrong about that. We're going to be doing this forever. Because now they're telling us, surprise, there's gonna be another live-action City Hunter film. This time, it's actually a Japanese film, which makes the first time they have done a Japanese live-action City Hunter if you discount
Angel Heart.
The Angel Heart TV series, which I think we can discount it because it's technically an alternate universe.
Right.
Okay? Like, they've done a million live-action films or TV shows in other regions. China, France, Korea, Taiwan had some version of it. China did it again, but under a different name. Then China did it again, but under a different name. Okay, so that's been done a million times, and finally Japan is like, what if we made our own movie about the thing we made?
Yeah, so it's going to be debuting on Netflix in 2024.
We're going to be doing this for another 2 years.
And to be fair, by that point, at the beginning of 2024, we will barely start covering, I think, either City Hunter 91 or one of the other OVAs. Because we're going to be stuck in Season 2 here for a while.
And then eventually we might have to start talking about the other live-action movies or the TV shows from other regions. I don't know, this is going to be hard. When do we start talking about Angel Heart? Oh,
When do we get to talking about Nikki Larson, the
no.
currently reigning superior anime to live-action adaptation?
We'll get there. It's very good, though.
Okay, but speaking of that, so we do already have one piece of casting for this live-action Netflix movie.
A whole one of them.
But it's the most important role, Ryo, who's being played by actor Ryohei Suzuki, who, if you guys have ever seen the movie Hentai Kamen, he was in that.
He's in that. That's the one thing I know him from, because, I mean, Hentai Kamen's really strange. But I guess if you told me that Ryo Saiba ran around moonlighting as Hentai Kamen, that would not surprise me.
Tracks.
I guess that wouldn't surprise me.
If not Hentai Kamen, then certainly the Mokkori Man.
Which will come up quite a lot in this. They're talking about this being a lot closer in tone to the manga, so they're not giving him the blue jacket from the anime. The blue jacket was really just an anime thing. He has more of a Miami Vice kind of look about him throughout the manga. They tried to make him real super serious in the manga, and then they made him like, but what if he was a cartoon character in the anime? That's what the big difference is. So I guess they're really trying to reel that back in, and I'm wondering, is this gonna be funny? Is it gonna actually have a lighthearted tone to it? Is he going to have actual physical boners? Because the manga's got a lot of physical boners.
Now, to be fair, again, the reason why we talk up the French live-action film so much is that by Tsukasa Hojo's own admittance in an interview that he gave with director and star Philippe Lachaud, that script struck the right balance between action, comedy, and lewdness, which, you can see there in the finished product. So this Netflix movie has to maintain that balance.
You can only hope, because Hojo himself said, I've been trying to get this movie made for like 10 years. So he must have really been waiting for it to finally all come together the way he pictured it should have been.
Or rather, other studios and other directors and writers had been trying to work with him. Hey, what about if we came at it at this angle or this angle? And it took a really long time until that movie, the French one, got off the ground. So I imagine he must have signed off on this in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, of course, like, he's interviewed as part of the big old press release that, like he said, he's been trying to get it done for 10 years. On top of that, this is definitely taking place in Shinjuku this time. It's gonna be the only live-action adaptation to actually do that.
That will actually film in Shinjuku.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're having to modernize it, which, I mean, okay, like, how do you get around that, I guess?
If the French version was able to do it, so can this one.
Right, but on top of that, the French version is in France, so it's a totally different locale, so it almost doesn't matter when it takes place.
But they did manage to keep the apartment.
Well, that's also because it's a fake outside exterior apartment.
Now, to be fair, I would have preferred it if it had been a period piece, set it in the 80s.
Yeah. But regardless, I did think that movie, the Nicky Larson French film, was very good.
Yeah, I watch it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, ever since we first saw it, it's become, no joke, one of my all-time favorite movies.
And then you catch more and more things the more you watch it, because we go back and we rewatch City Hunter, the anime, and we realize, oh man, we missed this last time. And now we're super hyper tuned into it this second time around.
And third and fourth and fifth, depending on how many times we've seen it.
Well, not only that, but like the anime, watching it on a repeat watch through, because this is not the first time we have watched this series.
Right, but I'm saying as many times as I've rewatched that particular film.
Sure.
So yeah, we've got that to look forward to. It's just, we thought, okay, we're gonna get one more extension, and we've extended our contract one more year into 2023, alright, and we'll have stuff to cover up until then, and then this came along.
Yeah.
And then what happens if it does well?
They gonna do another one?
I hear they're making another. Oh, I mean, we're not saying that. We hope. We actually hope. It would be nice if more people would learn about what City Hunter actually is, and not that it's only that damn Jackie Chan movie.
I remember when the Jackie Chan movie came out, and then they did the Street Fighter 2 stuff. I know!
We know! We know!
What you're telling me is that what you recognize is Street Fighter 2.
You know that scene came from that movie. We've covered this. We know. Listen to the podcast and learn along with us.
I'm so done with that stupid fucking movie. I'm sorry, I'm so done.
Only the first 5 minutes are actual City Hunter. And then arguably the rest of it is an adaptation of Bay City Wars. But we can have that argument later.
Once we get to Bay City Wars.
Once we get to Bay City Wars, yeah. Okay, so now that we've got you guys up to speed on the news, let's actually get into today's podcast. So, we start out our episode out in front of a gallery by the name of Higuma Gallery, where they're having a retrospective gallery exhibit on an artist by the name of Kazutomo Fujino. Now, the prize piece of this collection is a painting titled My Daughter of this little girl in a little pink dress, and it's apparently really rare, and it's amazing that this guy, the owner, Higuma, even got the damn thing.
Higuma is getting all this praise from a whole bunch of dudes, and he's like, oh, that was nothing, and so you're automatically like, there's something wrong with this guy. Like, automatically, you just know there's something wrong with him, or the collection, or whatever.
Because they're telling him, it's not just this one. It's so weird that you have all of these other prized paintings that were said to be unobtainable. He's like, yeah, just, I have the magic touch, I do it. And so instantly, no, there's something crooked.
Yeah.
Something wrong with you, boy.
So we focus on a young woman who has walked into this gallery, and she's staring at the My Daughter painting, and then suddenly she shouts out, hey, that's not real, it's a fake, and then just grabs it off the wall and runs.
But before she leaves, we see that Higuma sees the girl looking at the painting and quickly makes the connection.
He has an oh crap moment.
Yes, he has a oops I crap my pants moment. This is the last person I wanted to notice that this painting was in here.
I think it was pretty obvious right off the bat probably who this person was. They really weren't doing a good job of hiding it. I don't know that they were trying to hide it.
I don't think they were trying.
They wanted you to kind of figure out, oh, she's related to this painting somehow.
Yeah, because they kind of have a similar face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder, why is that? Why do they have the same face? Huh?
So then he calls for security to go after her.
And they're chasing after her into the street as she's trying to get away with the painting. Meanwhile, Ryo is just out while the Mokkori song plays, the bow wow boom chicka bow ba da ba ba.
And he's out hunting for ladies.
He's out trying to get chicks, man. Just chicks.
Just, the same as usual, and also the same as usual, he's often getting kicked in the face.
He's getting his ass beat. It's hard out here for him in these streets, as it should be, because he's just hitting on one woman, they hit him, kick him, and then he just immediately hits on the next one.
So, he kind of deserves it. He kind of has it coming.
Now, after enough of this rejection, he starts deciding, all right, I'm done with this, I'm going home. And as he's on his way home, he seems to notice that the girl who has stolen the painting is running immediately in his direction.
Right at us! That's an airplane reference. This is very specifically just for me. That was just
No, that's for both of us.
Okay, it's for both of us.
And so Ryo just opens his arms wide like, yes, I didn't know girls did delivery. And, she runs right into him.
Which is exactly what he wanted, but it might not have been for the reason that he wanted. So he catches her, but unfortunately it means that those security dudes have a chance to catch up.
And so Ryo quickly asks her, hey, what's your name? And she gives her name. It's Haruka. And he's like, Haruka, would you like to go out on a date with me? And she's saying, why would you ask me that now? I'm getting taken away by these two guys.
Well, she's like, oh, I'll do anything if you get me the heck out of this situation. And he's like, yes, all right, let's dance.
And so he takes out the guards that have caught up to her. He punches one of them and he palm strikes the other one.
Right.
And it's not often you see Ryo use a palm strike.
It happens every so often, but obviously he prefers a gun.
And the punches and the chops primarily. But yeah, it's nice that he's changing it up.
So he protects her, and then he's like, hey, want to go to a hotel? And she's like, no, why would I do that? Why don't we just go to your place? And he's like, oh, that sounds just as good. So they go.
Yeah, and he makes this really over-the-top surprise, is it my birthday face?
Yeah.
So yeah, they get back to the apartment, and he's immediately checking around the door. Is Kaori home? Is Kaori home? No? All right, come on in. And she's like, wow, such a big place that you've got here.
All for just you and nobody else.
And he's like, yeah, what's better is, the bedroom. You want to see that?
And she's like, oh, okay. I didn't realize you were so sleepy. Here you go. Let's fluff up your pillow a bit. There you go. Go ahead, take a nap.
And Ryo's like, haha, real funny. I meant sexy time. Have at you sexually. And thankfully at that moment, in comes Kaori with the 100-ton hammer. So hard, mind you.
Just breaks it off right on his head.
She broke the handle. It's not often she goes in that hard because normally the hammer is very resilient for being made out of wood or something.
She's done it a couple of times though.
Yeah, so she's really swinging for the fences.
Of course, it's here that she realizes, oh, well, technically the girl's a client. Kind of. She asked for the protection. I just don't think there was supposed to be a monetary exchange.
Well, at the very least, she is copping to, yes, I asked Ryo to protect me, which Kaori immediately interprets as, oh, so this is a paid gig. So she backs off.
And immediately says, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
because
mind you,
we can see
checked.
the clock. The clock is there on the wall. You can clearly see the little hand is on the 2, and the big hand is on the 12.
And on top of that, she says that this is the middle of the day, but she's just like, oh, well, since you're a client, I guess I'll go make dinner at 2?
Like, I've heard of old people eating early, but not that early. Like, damn. Like, 4 o'clock. At the earliest. Come on. It is still lunchtime.
Late lunch. This is the end of lunch.
I guess. Like, if you want to have that argument, how late does lunch go? I say 3:30 is the latest lunch goes.
Ugh, that's pretty late still, but okay, fine.
Okay, 3. Anything after 3 isn't lunch anymore.
Even then, I prefer to eat my lunch at like noon because that's the middle of the day.
Well, yeah, like I think most people would agree the earliest you can do lunch, like if you're going with like McDonald's, Burger King rules, right? You're talking 10:30 earliest.
Oh, that's still breakfast. In fact, that's brunch.
But yeah, you see most places at 10:30, that's when they cut off the breakfast menu. 11 for some places.
Uh-huh.
I think 11 is a good time to start lunch.
Sure.
Because I'm not one of those people who believes in brunch. I'm from Texas.
I don't see how that makes any difference what brunch is, but okay. Okay.
I just hear a lot of people out here talking about brunch way more than I did back home.
Look, they just talk about brunch because it's a thing that people do in the entertainment industry as an excuse to actually meet up and talk shop over food and mimosas.
That's the important thing, the mimosas.
Yeah.
But we're not doing mimosas because it's 2 p.m. So Cowdy goes off to start making dinner way too early. We are in agreement on that.
Yes.
And so Haruka asks, oh wow, she's so pretty. Who is that?
And Ryo, oh man, this is about to get bad. Ryo is just like, that's my little brother. Like, he's done this before.
He has done this before.
But it's shitty every time he does it. I don't even know how to have this discussion with you guys.
All right. Well, we'll leave it. So, yeah, Ryo says, I didn't want to tell you this, but he is, as the translation says on the screen, I'm just repeating what they said in the translation, a transvestite. That is the translation that they used, but the Japanese phrase that he uses is okama.
Okay, yeah,
So we gotta explain that.
Cause let's get this one thing straight here. Transvestite is a different thing from a transgender person, although these things can sort of have an intersection, I guess, and maybe that's true of Okama as well. Later on, you'll see that Ryo actually kind of frequents an Okama bar. There are Okama that show up within the Yakuza franchise of games. You frequently go to an Okama bar called Earth Angel.
They're in the Champion District.
In the Champion District. So, I guess you could say that these are cross-dressers working these bars, but so often, Okama are actually trans women themselves.
Right, and mind you, those phrases like transvestite and crossdresser are incredibly dated now.
They are, so maybe it's fair that this word is being used in a show from the 1980s. I guess that's probably fair. But because of that, really, this entire conversation we're gonna have is just about extremely dated ways of looking at things, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, they were always shitty, but we have progressed a lot in our thought processes of how do we broach certain topics.
Like gender
right?
identity.
Like gender identity. So we've gotten to a place where we do a better job of going with someone's preferred pronouns, right? So if we were having this conversation about a show happening right now, then Ryo would be getting a lot of shit because he's about to go off misgendering all over the place. One, he's already lied and said that Kaori is his brother, so that's already wrong. He's doing it, one, as a joke, and two, because he doesn't want this cute girl to think that he's got another cute girl in his house.
Right, because he's trying to mac on Haruka at the same time, and for whatever reason, he thought the best way to broach this was to lie about Cowdy's gender. And so on top of that, he lists, oh yeah, that's my brother. He likes to wear women's clothing, and that's what he does, and you know, we really try not to talk about it. And thank God, Haruka shuts him down by saying, you know, because obviously you can hear Ryo using a mocking tone for Cowdy. Haruka shuts it down by saying, hey, leave him alone. If that's how he wants to express himself, then by all means let him do it.
And she continues on like, I love the LGBT. I think they're all great and they have great personalities. And Ryo is like, oh, maybe this was a mistake.
Yeah, and so he stops. He shuts up. And it's like, thank God that this character was there, that Haruka was there to say that and make Ryo stop with all this awful drivel coming out of his mouth.
So you think that saved the whole episode, and unfortunately it doesn't totally save the whole episode, because Kaori's out here making dinner lunch.
Early dinner.
And she's humming to herself. Mind you, she is humming the current ending theme of Supergirl.
Yeah, she's there in the kitchen like, and it's like, oh, I see what you did there. But, you know, she's there trying to prepare the food, and then in comes Haruka, and she's checking Cowdy out more than she should.
She's using her hands, that's the thing. So now she believes that Kaori is trans and is like, hey, just how real are your boobs anyway? And decides to grope her. Like, this is also, this is a thing we do not do.
Can we talk about consent? Can we talk about boundaries?
Like, when you start talking about somebody's gender expression, that doesn't give you permission to be like, so what about your breasts and your genitals? Like, what are you doing? It's bad enough to ask about it. And then she starts pulling at her pants, like, so do you wear women's underwear too? Like, yo, ma'am, what are you doing?
let's scale it back a notch here. Let's just go back to being cool with it like you were a second ago and not trying to double check, all right?
She's coming at it from a place of, oh, I'm just really fascinated by this. She's not scared of it, but also, maybe don't fucking do that.
So that's basically that scene, and it'll come up a little bit in a second, but yeah, that was a rough scene to get through.
This was really yikes. I gotta admit, this was really yikes. It would be great if in the upcoming 2 films that are being made,
both the animated and the live action,
that we do none of that. Let's do absolutely none of that.
Yeah, let's move past that, and if you're even going to try and move it in there, let's keep it updated and modern and more befitting of how people see the LGBTQ community and not be nearly as offensive.
Let Rio go to that Okama bar and then just not even make a big deal out of it. He just really likes being there. Like,
yeah, just let him show out. Just let him get drunk and let him be happy and supportive and protective.
Which he often does later on anyway. So why did he do this shitty thing? Jesus Christ. Oh my god, this was really bad.
So back at Higuma Gallery, we shift focus here. We see that Higuma is mad that Haruko made off with that painting because it was in fact a fake. And she can tell the difference because he knows who she is.
Yeah, and you don't need somebody out there running around telling everybody, hey, this guy has fakes.
And so he's getting mad at his grunts for letting her get away. And he asks, well, did you even find out where she went? And they're like, yeah, she's holed up in some apartment with this guy. Well, who's the guy?
The Mokkori Man! Which, we say it that way, like, you remember that one Saturday Night Live skit? And Conan O'Brien was the host, and he had that superhero...
Moleculo.
The Molecular Man! We quote that all the time. And so now this show has given us a reason to say the Mokkori Man in that tone every
Ryo Saiba, the Mokkori Man! And so, yeah, he's there talking about, all right, we're going to find the Mokkori Man, and we're going to get back that painting that is obviously a fake, because we don't need people knowing that I have a fake on display in my gallery that hosts fakes. And so he's here admitting to everything in his office, right?
Yeah.
But we see that under his desk, where he's talking, he's next to his desk, and underneath the desk...
He's been tapped!
And outside in a police van, wouldn't you know it, Saiko's doing police work.
Wow. When's the last time she did any of that?
Like 2 weeks ago, I think, something like that.
Oh no, it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Either way, she hears the Mokkori Man and she's already like, oh Jesus Christ.
There's only one person that could, like, her eyes are already starting to roll back like, oh god, I know exactly who they're talking about. I ain't even gotta look.
Not this bitch. Alright.
So back at the apartment, we see that Cowdy's made this big old spread of food. You know, really good looking food.
You know, dinner at 3:30 or something.
Well, maybe it took her like a couple hours to make all that food. Like, that was a lot of food.
You really think it took her like 3 or 4 hours?
I mean, maybe at least 2.
Okay, great. Dinner at 4 p.m. That's still little early.
It's still the early bird special, but at least that's the earliest we can get in dinner.
Okay, fine.
And so Haruko remarks, oh my god, that's so amazing that you did all this. You know, you made all this food and you're a man. That's amazing.
This poor dumb broad. She's trying to be supportive. She's actually kind of trying, but Kaori has to realize, wait a minute. Ryo, did you do this again?
And Ryo's like, wait. I can explain.
Oh, no, you can't.
And so she roundhouse kicks him into the wall, which he absolutely 110% deserved.
Yeah, he was being kind of a fucker. He kind of deserved it.
Well, there's no kinda, he deserved it. And so this has cleared up the truth about what's going on here. Now Haruka knows that Kaori is in fact a woman. But I will at least give her points for being as supportive as she was.
Supportive, but also she assaulted Kaori. That was kind of weird.
It reminds me of a quote from, I think it's season 1 of Fresh Prince, when they try to protest by locking themselves in a classroom, and one of his classmates chains himself up along with Will, they're the main character. It's like, my friend Cornflake got the spirit. He's a little confused, but he got the spirit.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I like to refer to cases such as this.
That makes sense.
She's a little confused, but she's got the spirit.
But Haruka's like, alright, I'm sorry, I fell for a stupid joke. That was my bad. So anyway...
You and Ryo, when are you getting married?
It's a very crazy jump in conversation
topic. That's a hard right.
And you think maybe she's like, oh, well, maybe I would like to marry Ryo. You don't know. And Kaori's over here like, but, well, we're not a thing. Really? She's blushing over it because she's like, oh, well, I haven't thought about it, but I'm thinking about it now.
Well, that's not true, Kaori. You haven't thought about it in 2 weeks.
About marriage? She hasn't thought about marriage.
But thinking about them being together, it's been 2 weeks.
No, yes, I understand that, but she hasn't thought about marriage.
Okay, but yeah, she's thinking about it now.
But now Haruka's like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. You don't need to get married. I mean, so long as you're together and you love each other.
Yeah, exactly. Love's what's important between you two.
And now Kaori's like, is that what this is?
Like, she's blushing even harder and getting like a really cutely drawn face.
Yeah, this art direction's really good this episode. Like, I can imagine whoever worked on this would have also worked on, like, I don't know, The Dirty Pair, or would go on to work on Gunsmith Cats or
I would
something.
sooner say that, Gunsmith Cats.
Yeah. Either way, you think they're having that conversation because Haruka might have some intentions for Ryo, but now I'm starting to think, she might have some intentions for Kaori, because now she's like, oh, by the way, Kaori, you got some banging hips.
Like she says to Kaori after checking her hips physically with like one hand on each side, man, I could see myself falling for you myself.
Well, bye.
And like, what the hell was that? Like, are you just supportive, or are you wanting to find something out about yourself here, Haruka?
And this is why she said she loves the LGBT community, because you might be thinking about it. I don't know.
In any case, good luck to you on your journey of self-discovery. So, Ryo, having not been dissuaded from trying to make moves on Haruka, has decided that he needs a little bit of an extra kick and a little bit of an extra boost. So he has decided that in order to try and make further progress in hitting on Haruka, he needs some liquid courage, some liquid encouragement. And how do we do that? With a new drink that we are just finding out about here on the show, simply called Mokkori Drink.
It looks like a bottle of like Aronoman C or
Decavita
or whatever.
It's one of these little energy drinks that you see in a lot of Japanese grocery stores. They're like in a little brown bottle about, I don't know, about like 3-4 inches tall.
Maybe a little taller than that, but not by much. Like, you had similar energy drinks in the Yakuza franchise, so like Stamina X comes in a bottle that looks like that. All these Japanese energy drinks kind of look like that. They're not nearly as big as American energy drinks that are in these enormous cans.
Like in a tall boy can. No. It's something smaller, more compact, and more concentrated.
And so I'm just over here like, bro, where did you find Mokkori Drink?
Like, did you just go down to the Lawson's on the corner and pick that up?
Which, I mean, he might have, because mind you, you can go down to any corner store right now here in America, and you just find those absolutely nonsense garbage boner pills that probably do absolutely nothing.
Like, you go down to your local 7-Eleven, and there they are.
They have, like,
right there at the counter.
You know, dragon formula, or whatever the hell these stupid pills are called. Something really stupid like that.
Yeah.
And it's super weird. They do this really big, interesting animation for this thing. Ryo definitely, does not need a special drink to get a boner, okay? He doesn't. He absolutely does not.
This is a man in his prime who does not need medicinal aids to help with getting boners.
But then, too, he opens the lid of this twist-off cap drink. He does it with, like, a karate chop, just and it just screws off. And then 3, he needs a straw?
Well, it didn't even look like a straw. It looked like a coffee stirrer. It looked really
But he
thin.
drank through it.
He did drink through it. Like, you could drink through a coffee stirrer. That's not to say it's to be done.
It was a thin straw. But either way, I'm just like, this bottle is real small, man. What do you need to drink it through a straw
No, man, just knock
for?
it back. Take that thing to the head. That's not hard. I do it all the time with bottles of Aronoman C.
And then he's screaming and hooting and hollering about all of this. And then Haruka comes in like, wow, Ryo, you're so cool. She's not even thinking about, oh, he's taking a boner drink.
For me.
That like hasn't even crossed her mind.
Well, because she's so focused on what she's about to do here. So to his excitement, she's checking him out. Like, oh my God, you have such a well-defined chest and buttocks. And wow, you're just so well-shaped. I just want you to take your clothes off.
And he's like, yes, let's go to the bedroom. And she's like, no, do it right here. And he's like, yes!
Like, what is it, the M. Bison yes? It's that same feeling.
Oh, yeah, yes! Yes!
That's how happy he is. Because he says this all episode. Oh my God, I just love how progressive she is.
She's pretty okay for this being like 1989.
Not even. This is 88. It's not 89 yet.
Whatever.
So Ryo's down to his skivvies, and wouldn't you know it, this is the perfect time for Kaori to come in. And he thinks he's about to get it.
And then he's very embarrassed, and he sits down right away, and Kaori's like, hey, I guess you're pretty cold if you needed to strip down, huh? You want me to turn on the AC? He's like, nope, No, I'm good. I'm pretty comfortable, actually. Thank you.
She's about to hit him with the hammer because she already knows, okay, there's something wrong here.
But Haruka's like, no, it's cool. I asked him to do that so that I could draw him because I'm an artist.
And Ryo's like, okay.
Kaori's like, oh, this explains everything now.
Which it actually does.
Mind you, during all of this sequence, while Ryo is just down to his boxers, we see that Ryo writes his own name on his underwear. The name Ryo is written on the side of his boxers.
Like, did he have to get those specially made, or does he monogram them himself?
Have them special ordered.
Or, like, does he do the stitching? You don't know.
I guess I don't.
And so now that Kaori's like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. If that's why you're stripping down, then I'm all for it. Ryo's like, no, I think I'm good. And then both of them, both Kaori and Haruka are like, nah, man, take them off. Whip it out.
I guess he's less comfortable about being naked if he doesn't think that it's going to get him any boner time.
Yeah, if it's not going to get him laid, he's not going to take off his clothes.
I guess not.
And then, as though he was subconsciously wishing really hard,
a third woman shows up at the door.
And it's Sayako. And you would imagine on some level, Ryo's like, dear Penthouse. But no, like, he's like, hey, Sayako, help. I don't want to do this.
And Sayako's just like, no, but I will watch. And so they're just sitting around their big dinner picnic table that they have in the middle of their apartment, where he's posing so that Haruka can draw him, and Sayako's just drinking some tea.
Yeah, she comments, I guess it runs in the family. And Haruka kind of picks up on that, like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, this was fun. Bye. And that was literally her entire interaction.
Well, yeah, then Sayako chooses that moment to peace out.
And everybody else in the room is just like, what did she want?
So later that night, after I guess the painting or the sketch has been done, Haruka and Ryo have a conversation about what's been really going on. So we hadn't gotten her last name up until this point, but now it's revealed that Haruka's last name is Fujino. She is the daughter of Kazutomo Fujino, the artist from the beginning of the episode, whose art is up in that gallery.
So she knows that this art is fake because this is a portrait of her as a tiny baby child. And, you just know. You know your own dad's art, especially when it's a painting of you. And by the way, she's got the original portrait because a bunch of that art went missing, but she managed to get a hold of it.
Well, you would figure, if it's the one that's drawn specifically for you and your dad has unfortunately passed away at the age of 35, then yeah, you'd want to hold on to that.
Yeah, of course. And so she's just really upset, like, man, why are you showing off all of these fakes and proclaiming them to be actual pieces of art that they are not?
Because it turns out Higuma, the guy who runs the gallery, was actually Fujino's student of him as an artist, and that's probably how he got a hold of some of these paintings.
And that's probably how he comes off as being in any way believable or reputable, because he had a connection to this famous artist.
And so he's using that legitimacy to help get him more paintings, whether they're real or not.
So this conversation is happening. That dude is very upset that somebody's out there with the fake and knows it's a fake. They figured out that Haruka is staying at Ryo's apartment, and so they just do the best thing that they can.
Two dudes break into the apartment, and they're looking for Haruka, but they just chloroform the next closest person that they find.
Which is Kaori, because of course it is, because, think about it. How many times has she been kidnapped now? Do we need a counter for this? Do we need to eventually go back and count how many times Kaori has been kidnapped?
That'd be like going back and counting how many times Daphne gets kidnapped in episodes of Scooby-Doo. We don't have that kind of time.
Okay, well, maybe somebody else will do it. In any case, they kidnap her just to have something to hang over Ryo's head. And they call him up from the car phone that you totally have in the 80s, which you do. They're really weird and clunky. And
the big old brick.
They function in a really strange way. And they call him up and they're like, we got the girl, and we know that you got the thing that we want.
You got both the things we want.
So come down to the wharf and we're gonna make an exchange.
And so Ryo explains the situation to Haruka, like, yeah, they've taken Kaori and they want both paintings, and they're probably gonna try and kill both of us. You know the truth, and now I know the truth, that one of those is a fake. Well, what they don't know is that they messed with the wrong guy.
Alright, we're getting in the Mini and we're going down to the wharf. And then they get in the Mini and they go down to the wharf.
And they park next to a boat. What's written on the boat, Kaylin?
Sunrise, Josh.
Because if we didn't get any M&M's product placement in this episode, you damn sure better be looking out for that sunrise to show up somewhere in the background.
I mean, Sunrise owns planes. They own boats.
They own a hotel.
They own a hotel. I'm pretty sure they own, like, a truck. They've owned a truck at some point.
At some point, yes. And so now it's this boat.
It's a very big boat. It's like a shipping boat.
It's a nice boat.
Oh, not that nice a boat.
Okay, it's a perfectly serviceable boat.
Yes, it is a boat that performs service, yeah.
So both parties are there at the wharf to make this trade-off, and they're like, okay, we'll give you Kaori, but first you gotta give us both paintings.
And Haruka's just like, okay. And she just willingly goes all the way up to them with both paintings, presenting both of them to him.
And Higuma's staring at the paintings back and forth, and he's like, well, which one's the real one?
And she's like, oh, you're not a very good artist if you can't tell the difference, God.
Specifically, she says, it's not just your eyes, but also your heart that is bad, and that's why you can't tell them apart.
It's a very artist sort of thing to say. But meanwhile, this whole thing is just to line them up so that they can both be shot and murdered.
Because Higuma has a bunch of grunts here on site with guns, and there's one in specific who's up on like some crates.
He's a sniper.
And he's about to take a shot at Ryo.
Ryo is clearly very confident that he will not actually get shot, if you ask me. He's not reacting to anything, but he was counting on never getting shot in the first place, I promise you.
Well, yeah, if it wasn't one thing, it would be another. Either he would take care of it himself, which of course we've seen for a whole season and change now. He is perfectly capable of doing that. But on top of that, he didn't even have to do anything.
Well, yeah, because Sayako has shown up. Why? Because Sayako knew the entire time what the deal was, that these guys were dealing with fakes. She figured out real quick in that very quick drop by at the apartment that Haruka was related to the original artist of these paintings, and then came along and is like, here, I'm here to bust up your deal, and I'm gonna shoot you in the face if you don't put this gun down right now.
And I love that when she's there trying to bust the sniper, Ryo's just like, oh man, Psycho, come on out here. I need enough to look to know it was you.
This is why I think he didn't react at all, because he was like, I bet you Psycho's coming. She's got this. I don't have to do anything. But I'm just gonna act like I'm mad about it, because I totally could have taken care of this myself if I felt like it.
And so Psycho's just there like, hey, I stopped the sniper for you. That's one less IOU that I owe you.
Which makes Ryo very upset, because he keeps hoping for boner times that never happen.
And so Higuma's like, alright, well, you stopped the sniper. That doesn't mean I don't still have a hostage. And now Ryo's done playing.
Yeah.
And so he quick draws, shoots the gun out of the hand of the guy that's trained it on Kaori, and then takes another shot and cuts Kaori's ropes. As he has knocked this gun out, it has gone flying through the air and fallen into Kaori's hand, and Ryo's now just like, oh shit, duck.
Because Ryo knows Kaori can't aim for shit. She has no control over a gun, because it'll just whip her around everywhere. She does not have the upper body strength to just keep it pointed in one place.
Which is exactly what happens. Kaori, who is now pissed that she's been kidnapped and has now been given a firearm, decides to start blasting.
She just opens fire, and there's just bullets flying all over the place, and she really could do damage to people if they were not, watching out for their own asses and trying to duck and cover.
And you can tell Ryo is not exactly playing, like he's got this worried look on his face, like even I can't dodge these bullets.
Because you can't plan for it exactly, because she's so unwieldy.
If I had to think about it, the luck that Kaori sometimes has with bullets is just like Jamie Lee Curtis's character in True Lies, when she has the Uzi and it goes falling down the stairs. That's exactly how Kaori is with a gun.
Yes, I agree.
So after finally that clip has been spent and she's out of bullets, Higuma's just like, get 'em, boys. Time to start playing Footsteps, and Ryo just starts knocking fools out.
So some of this animation I think is reused.
Well, yeah, it's reused from earlier in the episode, like the palm strike and the punches. It's the same from at the beginning of the episode.
So, it's cool that if he has to get physical, he can, but he still ends it with, I'm gonna pull out my gun and just start threatening people.
And he specifically threatens Higuma at gunpoint, hey man, do you really want to do this and you want to cross the river Styx?
Mind you, he didn't actually say Styx. He said...
the Sanzu River.
Yeah, the Sanzu River, which is more identifiable for Japanese people. That's their dead people go there.
Yeah, that's the dead
Yeah.
river in Japanese culture.
Right.
So that's a pretty 1-1 localization, I would think.
It's the same, but it's different.
Yes, that's what a localization is.
Yeah.
And so dude just kind of gives up next to a door that Sayako opens up, and this is where all the forgeries are made.
Yep, we've been looking for this. Great, glad you got him busted. I'm glad Ryo kind of comes in and he makes this comment like...
Sayako asks, because now she's taken the paintings away from Higuma, and she can't tell because, she's not an art collector either. Well, I can't tell which one's the real one either.
Ryo's just like, you're just always using people, which is true. It's not just about promising sex in exchange for getting Ryo's help. Like, sometimes she just kind of pulls in at the very last minute and swoops in and arrests a bunch of people off the back of Ryo's work without even asking him in the first place. She just kind of takes credit for everything that he did.
Save.
Yeah, my save. Whether she asked him for help or not. And this was that situation right there. This was that situation where she didn't ask Ryo for help. There wasn't supposed to be an exchange for sex. She was just like, I guess I'll just arrest all these guys, and we've got all of this evidence of forgeries happening back here. So Ryo's like, you're just always taking advantage of people. So, of course you can't tell the difference between these two pieces of art because it's not just your eyes, it's your heart, lady.
Like, he uses the same words that Haruka used a second ago to chastise Higuma, and it kinda works. But to further impress upon her, look, I'll just make this really easy for you. He pulls his gun and he blasts apart one of the paintings, clearly identifying the other one that I've left alone is the real one, saying, you can tell which one is the real one because there's the art that can only be made by the love of a father, and it's in that painting.
It's pretty incredible that Ryo's got an eye for art like that, but also, maybe the police needed that forgery as evidence. Did you think about that, Ryo? Probably not, because he's probably actually really mad at Sayako for everything that she does to take advantage of people.
But at the very least, the case is closed, Supergirl is playing, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
It's a funny enough episode once you get past all the terrible things that Ryo says about Kaori.
Just a really shitty few moments.
I'm not gonna lie, it does, those moments when they happen in the show, and thankfully they're not very often, but when they do, I admit they leave a really bad taste in my mouth.
It's pretty bad. It's hard to sell people on how good the show is when every so often they do shit like this.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's hard.
Yeah.
And so that's why we say things like we said in episode 0, like, if Ryo was a real person, we would most likely not like him.
Right.
And not want anything to do with him. But as a piece of media, we can pick it apart and be like, well, some of this is funny and some of this just doesn't stand up.
Exactly. So like I said earlier in this episode, maybe we do not do this again in future iterations of City Hunter.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there was another adaptation pretty recently in Takarazuka, which I guess you could call a live action thing, although I think theater is different. It's certainly not a movie, but you know,
they filmed it.
It is on camera, that is true. But there really wasn't a lot of this really terrible misgendering and possible transphobia going on in that stage play, thank Christ.
Well, especially think about the medium too. Having any sort of transphobia in Takarazuka?
That would have been stupid. They also had to get rid of the word Mokkori for the sake of Takarazuka
because
too.
It's an all-female cast.
Because they knew that audience, like, oh, that's not gonna be good at all. They gave him like a totally different catchphrase. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think I brought it up when it first dropped, and now I don't remember what it was.
We gotta go look at the video again and double check that. So next week's episode is going to be, I think this is one of my more favorite episodes where...
More favorite.
And next week will be even more favorite, because Kaori and Ryo are gonna get stuck on a desert island.
Is it really a desert?
Well,
it
okay.
looks like a jungle to me. It's deserted.
deserted. Well, it's not actually deserted. Well, they're gonna get stuck on an island, all right?
There are some other people there.
Yeah, and it's a semi-swimsuit episode. I'm just telling you guys right now, they're gonna draw Cowdy with a lot of ass.
And then somebody else is in this really radical 80s swimsuit.
Yeah.
Just insane MTV-looking swimsuit.
MTV Spring Break 89 or 88 is what we're telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a fun one. Umibozu's gonna be there.
Everybody likes Umibozu.
Everybody likes Umibozu.
Umibozu's never done anything wrong.
Umibozu has never done a thing wrong.
I mean, he's afraid of cats, but he's never, actively tried to hurt a cat or anything.
Well, I mean, nobody's perfect.
So come back next time when we cover the 7th episode of City Hunter 2, Tropical Island Assignment, The Coconut Girl, and a Paradise of Love.
If you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter, while it still exists. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 57th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna crash Josh's plane into the ocean.
You can't crash it if you don't know where it is. Don't dox my plane.